Have any evidence of the actual Red Sea crossing?
One of the most fascinating pieces of evidence for that is something that was discovered actually in the Aegean in the ancient city of Mycenae. And in Mycenae, they have grave circles where they would bury their nobles and their kings. And there, only 60 meters away from a piece of jewelry with the Pharaoh of the Exodus name on it, Amenhotep II, they found these stone tablets called a stela. And on it, you see a man in a chariot chasing a man who's holding a stick, and they're going between waters. You can see the swirly cues on top and bottom, but in between them, the water is actually collapsing down on the chariot that is in pursuit of the man. And so this dates back to 1500 BC, give or take the errors of dating. What else could that be? It's not a hunting party.
Welcome to today's edition of Lying as Liar, Part 1. Part 1 is going to establish both Part 1 and Part 2, so you need to listen to both of them. But the first thing that I want to point out is the fact that this, what he's calling is a stele that was found in the Aegean Sea in the Mycenaean kingdom that is representing the Exodus, has absolutely nothing to do with the Exodus. The swirly types of pictograph here has nothing to do with water 90% of the time when the Mycenaeans were creating their pottery. This was just a stylistic framework that the Mycenaeans used. It would almost be like a logo, or how you may go into a neighborhood and you see a bunch of houses and they have a brick front face, but the rest of the house is siding. It's just a style. It has nothing to do with water. Now, the other part, as far as him being on a chariot, Amenhotep II, and this is very important, was widely known as a great hunter, widely known as a great general, and a great archer. So this would actually depict Amenhotep II in his honor of being a great hunter, a great military leader, and a great archer, and so on and so forth. So yes, it very well could have been a hunting party. And let me tell you the reason why. During this time frame, there is ample evidence that the people of Mycenae and the people of Egypt had a continuous trade going on, and in that trade they offered each other many gifts. So let me understand this. Let me let you think about this logically. If you're Amenhotep II and you're sending this piece of pottery to the Mycenaeans, would you depict one of your greatest defeats? If you were the Mycenaeans and you were giving this as a gift to your friends, the Egyptians, Amenhotep II, would you depict him in one of his greatest defeats? That would be like you saying that, hey, America, we have peace right now with England, but we're going to bring you a piece of artwork showing George Washington crossing the Potomac to kick y'all ass, or showing your defeat at Lexington. Do you think that'll go over well? Hell no, it wouldn't go over well, because that man's a lying ass liar. Now let us firmly establish that Amenhotep II in no way, shape, or form could have been the Pharaoh during the time frame of the so-called Exodus. So when you go and look at your Exodus story and you begin at Exodus 1 and verse 11, it says that the Hebrew slaves were being utilized primarily to build the city of Pithom and the city of Ramses, known to us today as Pi-Ramses. The city of Pi-Ramses was not constructed until around the 1200 BCE during the reign of Ramses, not during the reign of Amenhotep. Why would Amenhotep II build a city, name it Ramses, and there's no Ramses around? But he was not building, that city was not built until the time frame of Pharaoh Ramses. So that's one. Amenhotep doesn't make the cut. Two, Egypt during the time frame of Amenhotep was at one of its greatest heights, which means that it controlled lands all the way up to the southern borders of today Turkey. So if the Exodus had happened, then the Israelites would have been leaving the Nile Delta in Egypt to go to the Sinai Peninsula and walk around more Egypt. And then to go into the promised land to be in, guess what? More Egypt. So how do you go to the promised land, but the promised land is already controlled by Egypt? If that was the case, then the Bible writers would have written the story indicating that they were reconquered by Egypt, or that they were still under Egyptian rule. But according to the Bible story, they came in and they conquered the whole Holy Land. They were conquering Jericho, Ai, and many other cities. So guess what? Amenhotep II could not have been the pharaoh during this time frame. So it would not have worked. Egypt was experiencing its greatest heights economically. So during the time frame of Amenhotep II, all the plagues that supposedly would have happened would have devastated the economy, and this never happened during that time frame. So therefore, I submit to you, just on those accounts alone, that Amenhotep II could not have been the pharaoh to which the Exodus would have occurred, because it wouldn't fit historically. Wait for part 2. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.